So what made you want to get the Prophet 6? It's not a cheap machine.
Well, I think well, I guess there's a couple of things. I love the Dave Smith stuff. I've enjoyed lots and lots of those. I didn't have a polyphonic synth, and I'd been umming and ahhing about what to get, and then and I really I wanted polyphonic analog. I used to I had a variety of polyphonic digital synths and never really been as happy with them as I would have liked. Sold most of them, moved on. So the possibility of owning the successor to the legend, if you like, was exciting, and I was very quickly in the queue.
So yeah, fantastic, and a fraction of the price of the Jupiter 8, right?
Exactly right. Yes. Oscillator section here. I love the if we kind of start here, my gut instinct is always to come straight over here. So as a sound designer, I like to start with an envelope first. I like to work kind of this way. It's a strange thing to do, but your mixers here, oscillators first. How do you want them? Variety and so on. And then I work this way. So I come, get the amplifier envelope right, then play with the filter envelope, then get the filters how I want them sounding, and then keep coming this way. If you work this way as well, you end up kind of at the end of the signal path here where the effects are. So these are digital effects, but with the off button out, it's an all analog signal path. So it's true bypass. There's no digital noise in there if you don't want it. They're actually quite nice. I don't use them very much. But as digital effects go, they're okay. So then, having done that, when you're going to work on modulation all kind of happens around here. So you've got a low frequency oscillator here, syncable obviously. Choice of shapes, ordinary amount, which is also normals to the mod wheel, and then up call it 5 destinations if you like. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2 frequency.
Is a big improvement on the Pro 2, because the one thing about the Pro 2 is you had to kind of hunt a bit for finding your destination.
Totally agree, and because they're lit, you always at a glance you know exactly where it's going, and you can see whether it's synced or not.
Now you had that was dual modulation there. You had it's not just a sparse matrix, because you had both lit up at the same time.
Correct. You can have all of them if you want.
That's fantastic. That makes sense.
So that's kind of your first LFO. Then there's you could call it a hidden one, because you can flick oscillator 2 into low frequency mode, and then up here in the polymod section you can modulate these 4 destinations. So you got frequency of oscillator 1, shape of oscillator 1, pulse width of oscillator 1, and then the cutoffs of both of your filters. You can modulate them with either oscillator 2, so you can use it as a second LFO, or the filter envelope, or both. And in both cases, these are bidirectional. So 12 o'clock is off, and this is inverse.
So that's great. That really brings over the kind of modulation matrix feel from Pro 2. Anything can modulate anything. It's a little simpler to operate there, but that's nice, because that's where you get the bit of the modular in there.
Totally. And then if you flick this off, you can still use oscillator 2 as a modulation source, but now at audio rate. So you can get some nice FM sounds here. They don't work quite how I expect them to. We can come back to that in a minute. But they sound great. And we all love audio rate modulation, right?
Absolutely. And just one quick question, a lot for the purists. What are we looking at in terms of? We've got a MIDI through, which actually is surprising we have to ask that question these days. But
on a Dave Smith machine, yeah.
So many people leave out MIDI through now. I hate it. But what have we got in terms of CV in and out here?
Nothing.
No CV. Okay.
Which is a step back from the Pro 2. I guess,
the Pro 2 was fully CV capable and could CV sequence other things. That's a bit annoying, but that's not intractable. And then the key action itself, because it is a keyboard.
Semi-weighted, it's nice. You've got velocity and aftertouch. Let's turn that up, you can probably hear it. and so you've got velocity and aftertouch, and it's a nice keyboard to play. What can I tell you?
On the Pro 2, you had to sort of dial up a special thing in the menu to get like an empty patch.
So there is you can do preset and hold right, and it'll drop you into a starter place patch.
That's nice, yeah.
Which is great. The reason I do it this way is I like the kind of WYSIWYG thing. The problem with dropping into those places is that the buttons aren't always telling you where you really are. If you do it this way, it's nice and solid.
But the WYSIWYG, all the pots are kind of like on the Pro 2 are kind of pick up.
Yeah.
Is there a function here to get to as you see?
So this is as you see
right
now, and then the behaviour when you touch them is so when they're not as you see, you can set in 3 different ways. And one is jump to the current setting.
Yeah.
Another one is it kind of works out proportionally from where you start going round. And then the other one, I can't remember, but I've just got it set up as it comes out the factory at the moment, which is jump to. Okay, so you wanted to hear. This is oscillator 1. Open the filters right up.
Now, what's our waveform there on that one?
So we are. Let's come all the way round for you. There's your triangle coming up to saw and round to square, and then you've got pulse width hits. That modulates all the way from one way to the other.
Ah, right, okay.
Which means from there to there.
So it actually totally collapses the wave.
So, and that's actually quite useful in some patches if you want to. You can use it as a rhythmic element.
Oh, you can bring it in and out so it's not. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Especially behind the other oscillator if you've got it set to something. So there you go. That's and the other nice thing is that this pulse width button actually makes quite a big difference even when you're not on a square wave.
But can you just give us a straight up square wave on a C? Because I want to put it through. I'm going to put it through Spectre to have a look at the stability there. Right. Fantastic. And can you just put a bit? Can we do the slop on that to see what? That's great. So we'll run that waveform through Spectre and we'll be able to see like what the slop looks like there. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that.
I was in Frankfurt the other day, and I was walking around by the station. There's a lovely little music shop full of second-hand gear, and there was a Prophet 10 in the window, and I had a little time for my so I went in and played. Thankfully, it's too big for me to put on the train, otherwise I'd have brought it home. But the filter on that and the filter on this sound identical to me. So those people who are buying this wanting it to sound like a Prophet 5 won't be disappointed. One of the things we didn't talk about it before, actually, these frequency values are quantized, so it's really easy to see where you are. So I generally leave them all, both on C2. These two are quantized. Then on oscillator 2, there's a fine.
So it's an overlay. Okay. So it's going to be the frequency plus the fine.
Correct.
Yeah, fine.
And then you've also got this slot parameter, which introduces some randomized detuning. So this is kind of by a fixed amount, and then this will wander about. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see. Now. So there's a kind of opener. probably worth noting this is Unison mode. So there's quite a lot of oscillators stacked up there.
So how many oscillators you got per voice here?
6. Sorry, two and 6 voices.
So it's 12 oscillators.
Potentially 12 in the stack.
Okay.
Yes.
And is there a sub oscillator on top of that, or is that just 12 total?
Yes, here. There is, yeah.
Okay, and so is it 4 subs, 6 subs, or 1 sub?
1 sub.
1 sub, okay,
Yeah.
great.
This is a recreation of one of the patches that shipped with the original Prophet 5, just for certainly.
Cells, but I can certainly feels like it's got an analogy kind of sound to it.
Couldn't agree more. There's a graininess about it that's recognisably analog, I think.
And there's almost hints, and people are going to kill me for saying this, but almost hints of the Jupiter 8 there, right?
Definitely agree. Yeah,
wow.
definitely
I mean,
agree.
That's an exciting prospect to have a stable and much cheaper Jupiter 8 in some ways.
Totally agree. It's in tune when you turn it on, which is it's just lovely. Okay, let's have a listen to this again. I think is a recreation of an old Prophet 5 It's quite a nice little noise as well.
That's lovely.
And then have a little go here.
That's quite interesting.
I think it's a really good example of why this is more than just a simplistic kind of machine.
Yeah. It feels like it's a bit of the confusion of analog and digital together there. It also reminds me of a 1970s children's TV theme.
Oh, listen, I've got a few of those. I'm a particular fan of those TV themes from that era. Okay, let's have a little listen to this. This, I guess, is your kind of, you'd call it a classic analog sound, I think. So this, I think, is again properly classic analog.
Okay, I'm now ready. This is ready to do my Van Halen guitar solo.
Exactly.
That's. Now this is the sound that would make me regret buying a Jupiter 8.
I've just got one more that I guess that's the other great thing, right? Unlike the Prophet 5, you've got a high pass filter as well, so you can get all those lovely band pass noises as well. That there we go. that's
I
guess
could
a
start a
tool
new
around the
wave
filters.
band. I could start a new wave band over that patch on its own, I think.
So let's again. This is it's not. I've tweaked it ever so slightly, but it's basically an old. I didn't mean to do that. An old Pro Prophet 5 patch that those of you who've owned one. Thought it'd be nice to share some bass sounds. So this is almost a. I mean, it's a crazy noise. And then maybe for a slightly more traditional bass sound. Kind of nice, proper tearing bass noise. A nice Unison stack up.
Nice to hear the filter playing like that.
It's a nice little noise. It's a big noise.
If Hendrix had lived,
There's another nice little kind of classic bass sound.
it's very clean but still analog enough.
Yeah, and it's this. I love this analog distortion. I'll give you a little bit of that. And it goes all the way into filthy.
Wow, that's pretty cool actually.
It's proper. It's proper. You know, sounds great. Sounds for a minute.
That's a really nice. I mean,
The glide's great, so you can do the 303
Oh,
thing
that would be
really quite nicely. Get quite messed up. More of those classic Prophet sounds. Almost a classical noise.
that's fantastic. That's the sort of thing that would make the Moog Ensemble want to buy one of these.
It's definitely Moog Ensemble territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Agreed. It's another thing that the distortion's nice on.
That's good. Now that's a surprise for me, because one of the big complaints about the kind of digital organs is they don't get the kind of hissing and spitting sound right.
Sure, but
That's nice. It's got the real meat, but then it's got an authentic kind of nastiness to it. You could almost get away with this. This is
you could hear if you're a reggae band or something, you get away with that. I think.
that would give the Nord a run for its money, because the Nord just does not do that mess.
Agreed. Agreed. It's quite good. One of the things you can hear this envelope amount here is in negative. It's nice to have these backwards. So the two filters are pulling in opposite directions. You get a lovely, almost vowel-y sound. It's kind of nice. That's it with no effect. Put the little spring in. Bring that up in the mix a bit. It's a kind of.
That's fantastic.
It's a kind of an interesting little organ as well.
Yeah, that is.
This is another one for the Moog ensemble. They'd love this.
Oh, they would. Oh, God. You're going to make them break their Moog monopoly. Moog are not going to be happy with that. That's fantastic.
That's real switched on Bach stuff, right?
That really is. That's real.
It's great. I love that. Yeah. Just some nice little hi-hats.
Yeah, it's pretty respectable.
It's perfectly decent, usable hi-hat.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of old school dirty dance sounds.
Oh, this is taking me back to, I'm going to say 1994.
Agreed.
Desert in California. Yeah. Some sort of pharmaceuticals, I can't remember which.
Can't we? Yeah. Strange one.
Yeah. Now, what's wonderful about this, I just have to say as a real trance purist, is you've got the sweeping filters, and that's nice. But what you don't get from digital is you've got this kind of springy sound, almost like it's using a spring reverb, and that is just giving so much more organic sound to it, which is what you want. This kind of psychedelic trance.
Definitely.
It's really organic.
It's proper, isn't it? I agree. It's proper.
No, it definitely has some real physical feel to it.
So these are all kind of quite off the wall, maybe BBC sound effects kind of.
Radiophonic Workshop, you mean?
Radiophonic
Sorry.
Workshop, very much. I've called it Delia. No.
Oh, fantastic. yes, good stuff.
It's just kind of nice from muddy up to clean and back again. That's quite nice.
That's a superb set of sounds there. I mean, that's really, you're starting to get into a territory there where you really can start, exploring and building kind of like a world of old school electronic, really old school, like 70s, 60s kind of stuff, and that's great to have that much machine in your hands.
Agreed.
For the price, you want to have at least the equivalent of 3 different machines.
Agreed.
And it's starting to sound like, in the range of sounds and the way it's showing us, that maybe it does that.
Agreed. I mean, here's another one of those kind of proper old school sounds. And I thought on this is quite nice to hear it with the onboard effects on, just so you can hear. They do kind of sit quite nicely.
That's nice, yeah. There's a little bit of digital noise there. Now take them off again. No, it's not actually. It's on the attack, isn't it? There's a little bit of click on the attack.
There is a little bit of click. There is, yeah.
Now this is one thing I did find with the effects on the Pro 2 is they got a bit choppy sometimes. But I mean, that's, it swings and roundabouts. What do you expect for a bunch of free digital effects on it?
Well, exactly. So let's try this. It's kind of nice, crazy noise.
It's almost Hans Zimmer territory, really, isn't it?
It is. I really quite like that. And then I quite like this as well.
Well, I recognise that sound from what tune, I don't know.
It's again the sort of thing that
That's very Delia. Yes.
It is. And then let's have a look at this. This is another Unison sound.
Well, now we're going right back. I mean, we're talking about 1950s Forbidden Planet now.
Agreed. And I mean, it's mostly filter resonance, this sound. If you back the filter resonance off at all, it almost completely goes away.
Wow. So you're kind of playing the filter there.
Agreed, yeah.
Right.
It's a lovely sine wave.
Right,
Classic
now
old school
a
sine
lot of
wave.
purists are going to like that because playing the filter is something they always want to hear about. So that's really good. But that's, again, when I come back to this point about having a set of tools to explore a set of musical space that synthesizers don't usually address these days, which is the 50s, 60s, early 70s. It's like the toolkit seems to be there.
Oh, it definitely does, and that's, you know, I mean, that's the space I'm interested in, and definitely it's got all the bits that I needed it to do that. I quite like this too. This is almost strikes me as one of those kind of early sci-fi computer thinking kind of noises. It's great. It's
That's fantastic.
and then I quite like these bells too. There's kind of just a little bit of again, that's very dealing.
But they are, you're right there, they are kind of analog. They're not that kind of very digital sound that's FM, and I guess we'll come onto that in a bit.
Correct. And then there's this kind of dark thing as well that I quite like, that it does quite nicely. Yeah, let's try this.
I've decided that I'm going to coin a new term. So we've got the idea of like a stage synth, or like a mono synth and a poly synth, all these different kind of bass synth. I'm going to call this a workshop synth, because you know it seems like the sort of toolkit you would use if you want to make a soundtrack.
That's a really, I mean, it's definitely why I bought it. I bought it for those noises, and it's perfect for them, for me. Right, just one more sound, then this is, again, back to the TV theme thing. I just...
You could work for ITV in 1983, I think.
It's just great, right? You know, it's
that's fabulous.
Almost the Tomorrow People or something.
Yeah, right.
It's a little sweet spot somewhere there with the mod wheel. It's lovely. We can come up here and use oscillator 2 to modulate the frequency of oscillator 1. And we start to get that kind of FM sound. Now, if you then increase, is that fifth or whatever, that doesn't quite sound how I would have expected it to. And if you come up again, all the way to an octave above, or in fact 2 octaves above, you can hear oscillator 2 in the mix.
Are there any other kind of bits that are pet peeves right now? I mean, they might go away later on, but anything that you don't like about it, or doesn't quite work?
The only thing that doesn't really work for me is I'm not a huge fan of some of the effects. The spring reverb emulation. I've got 100 other spring reverbs, real ones and emulators that I'd used before that. It just doesn't really work for me. And I'm a huge fan of springs. I have 4 tanks in the room, and I'm a big spring fan, but I'd rather use a real one. The phasers are a bit fierce. We have a listen to them. live without those. So the effects, I mean, they're all right. There's a place for them, but I suspect I will spend most of my time with that button off and use outboard effects instead. But apart from that, the core machine is beautiful. There's an onboard polyphonic 64-step sequencer. You can almost write everything you need to from here. The thing I love about this is just how immediate it is. As I said, I've only had it for a fortnight. For most of that fortnight, I've been out of the country, so I've really only played on it 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6. And I already feel like I know my way around. I've never read the manual. It was turn it on and work it out for yourself stuff.
But is this something that you'd want as a band member, or would you prefer to go with like a Moog or something?
I think if I was playing in a band, I'd probably go with Sub 37 in preference. If what you were doing is writing for picture, if you were scoring movies, or if you were trying to create the kind of soundscapes that would go with a movie even if they're not with a movie, which is a thing that I'm fascinated by, I think it's the go-to instrument of the moment, really.
This is why I'm calling it a workshop synth, because I just think this is a soundtrack maker's dream. This gets away from all the hokey kind of poppy sounds of synths that they end up getting restrained into, and this starts putting them into the world of sounds that they want to generate. A lot of those sounds are kind of sounds people used to get off records.
Agreed.
Or off
we've all got those old BBC sound effects records,
exactly.
Right?
But this is, and that's why I call it the workshop thing, because those were made by the workshop with all kinds of different mechanical or electronic ways. But this is a machine where you can start making those from fresh, and that's a synthesizer's dream.
I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree.
And so we've seen the way Dave Smith has come with this, right? He's gone from from a kind of very digitally thing, the Prophet 12. The Pro 2 was like quite bold into analogy space, and this really surprised everyone. It's a big shock. We're all getting very excited about the mini key Odyssey, and this just killed the Odyssey, right? No one's interested in Odyssey anymore because this thing came up, and everyone was like, okay, we want this.
Agreed.
So what's next? I mean, do you think it's going to be more oscillators, move towards like the Jupiter 8 world, or?
So I mean, I won't second guess the great man. I'd love him to do that. I mean, what I'd like him to do actually, if is I'd love him to do a more analog version of the Pro 2. I love my Pro 2, but a Pro 2 that sounded properly analog in the way that this does. And I'm not knocking the sound of the Pro 2. I think it's a wonderful sounding machine, but a mono synth or a duophonic synth with these oscillators would be. You could do it for a fraction of the price of this. You could reach more people. You could maybe, if it did that and it had CV in and out, that's a machine I'd run away and buy tomorrow.
But I think I'd like to thank you very much for this, because you've got me from being very sceptical about this to thinking about when am I going to buy it. So I'm sure that Dave Smith will need to thank you for many sales. Be interested to see how many. I want to thank you very much for your time.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.